Right, hello. So today's lesson is going to be a groove from Ghana, an African groove. Now I'm going to split the groove up into different parts. It's going to require you to practice each individual part. So when I say to pause the video, go off and practice your part and then come back when you've got it and resume the video. So the first part. It's four-way independent, so we're looking at both hands and both feet are going to work through this rhythm. I'm going to show you the right hand first. Now the right hand is what we call an ostinato. So an ostinato is a repeated pattern. It just plays this. So I'm going to call that 1 and 2. And if you notice there's a little space before I go back to the 1. And I'll show you where the space is. I will call that rest. 1 and 2, rest. 1 and 2, rest. 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 In that rest, I'm going to play a bass drum. So that will be 1 and 2 bass. I'll show it to you. 1 and 2 bass. 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 Good. Now go and practice that. Pause the video and come back once you've got it. Okay, great. So that's the first part of this rhythm. That does that all the way through this groove, this rhythm. I like to think about this in 4 phrases. Okay, so it does that 4 times and then comes back to the beginning. So learning each phrase at a time. The first phrase, the left hand, what the left hand's doing. So the left hand. On the first phrase, my right hand is doing this. The left hand plays on the first note here. And then it plays again in between the floor tom beats. So I have this. I'm going to take the bass drum out for now, just so you can see what the hand's doing only. To put some words to help you remember this, the words I could use are nice cup of tea. So nice is here and then cup of tea is down here. So it's like this. Nice cup of tea. Nice cup of tea. And now I'm going to put the bass drum back in place, so then I've got both my hands and my right foot working. So I have this. Nice cup of tea. Bass. 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 Okay, so pause the video and go ahead and practice that for a bit. When you've got it, come back and resume the video again. Fantastic. Okay, so that was the first phrase of 4. That's our first phrase. So the second phrase of 4 is exactly the same rhythm, it just plays it slightly different on the drums. So instead of playing the first note between the middle tom and the snare drum, it plays both toms together, the high tom and the middle tom together. So we play this. So there's my nice cup of tea. Nice cup of tea. Put the bass drum back in. Bass. Bass. Good, okay. So the next thing to do is to put those 2 phrases, phrase 1 and phrase 2, on a loop so you get used to one after the other. So phrase 1 followed by phrase 2. Okay, good. So practice that. Pause the video and come back. Okay, so phrase 1 and phrase 2 you've learnt so far. Now phrase 3 is the same as phrase 1. So that's nice and easy. Phrase 3. Good. So that leaves us just to learn phrase 4. Now phrase 4 is very similar to phrase 2, but instead of playing together a unison on the first note, I displace the left hand. So instead of playing this, I play this. So I add that into my rhythm, my phrase, and I have this. Now, a nice African rhythm, words for this is, have you got a dog? So I could play, have you got a dog? So that is right, left, right, left, right. So a single soak roll between these drums. Finishing on my floor tom. Start with my right hand, finishing on my right hand. Have you got a dog? And then I want to put my bass drum back into that. Bass. 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 So with this, it's easy to muddle up the word dog with the bass drum. So make sure the word dog is on the floor tom and then the bass drum is played. So the bass drum comes after the have you got a dog. Have you got a dog? There's the bass drum. Okay, pause the video. Go away and practice that one. Good, okay, so that's all 4 phrases. Phrase 1. Phrase 2. Phrase 3. And lastly, phrase 4. So if I put all of those together, I have my groove from Ghana, and it sounds like this. I could just loop that round and that is my groove from Ghana. So practice that, pause the video, practice that, come back and I will show you how we vary that and how we turn it into a bit more of an African groove. Okay, so in order to turn that into more of an African sounding groove, the actual rhythm is played, it's on phrase 1 and phrase 3. Instead of playing a snare drum, it's played as a cross stick. So to play a cross stick, what I do is I have my stick on the drum in this position. So the butt of the stick wants to be touching the head of the drum, and the knuckle of the stick wants to be touching the rim of the drum. Then my hand just comes over the top, my palm touching the head of the drum so it dampens the drum. I leave my palm on the drum at all times and my fingers just close around the stick. My fingers are like this. I don't go underneath, otherwise the stick will do that. So it's important that I leave the butt touching the head and the knuckle touching the rim. And then I just pick the stick up, leaving the butt touching there and my hand touching the head, and then I play it. That's the sort of sound that I'm after. If I move my stick too low, I get a very weak cross stick sound. If I move it too high up, I get a bit of a clonky sound. So it's finding the sweet spot. So there, sounds like the sweet spot on my drum. Yours might be slightly different. Be careful that as you play, you don't let your stick do that. And be careful it doesn't sort of come over here. It wants to be almost across the drum, sort of halfway across really. Make sure you're always in a comfortable position. So, if I put that into my rhythm, phrase 1 and phrase 3 is a cross stick. Phrase 2 and phrase 4 doesn't play the cross stick. So the whole thing now sounds like this. Okay, now I know that playing the cross stick is quite difficult. Coming back after you've played the snare, so as I'm playing my bass drum, my hand is coming into position ready to play my cross stick. If I wait too long to put my hand in position, then I have this as my cross stick, and it can sound awful and messy and be a little bit out of time. So as I play this, my hand has moved into position ready for my cross stick. Okay, practice that. Pause the video, come back. Okay, so initially I said it was a 4-way independence groove, which means that I've got 4 limbs all doing something very different. So the last limb to put in is my left foot playing the hi-hat. How you play the hi-hat? Find a way you can either play heel down or heel up on the hi-hat. Try not to get splashes. Try not to have the hi-hat doing that. Make sure the hi-hat is nice and fairly crisp. Okay, so where does the left foot go in on this? I put the left foot locked in with my right hand. So I'm going to take my left hand and my bass drum out for now, and I'm just going to play the right hand and the hi-hat. So on my very first note, that's where my hi-hat lands, on there. And then my very last note with my right hand over here. So the right hand and the left foot plays this. Now the hard thing is getting the bass drum in to that pattern. So the next thing to do is to add the bass drum in. So that would sound like this. Now with the bass drum. Now that's quite tricky. Again, pause the video, go away and practice that. Come back when you think you've got it. Now, I'm aware that playing all 4 limbs at the same time is quite difficult. So if you're finding it too hard, don't worry, don't sweat it. Take the left foot out, ignore the left foot. Get the right hand, left hand and bass drum sorted. You know, and that will suffice. It's really okay to play a groove. Find your own way through this. I'm going to play the whole thing for you with the left foot and both hands and the right foot in there, so you can see how the 4-way independence works. So it sounds like this. Okay, now that is at a reasonable tempo. I'm maybe playing that a little bit fast to start with. If you find that a bit too hard to play that speed, slow your tempo down, play it slightly slower. Once you've got it, you can then try playing a little bit faster. With a bit more speed, it starts to feel a little bit more like a groove. Get the idea. So have fun with that, and I will upload another video on another groove for next time. Brilliant.